service delivery protests have again erupted in Bekkersdal on Gauteng's West Rand. A voter registration point at a church has been stoned, and the IEC says a second venue in the area had to be closed after petrol bombs were thrown and staff threatened. eNCA reporter Narissa Subramoney is in Bekkersdal. Good afternoon to you again, Narissa. Now we're getting reports of 2 petrol bombs having been thrown at a registration station. What do you know of this?
Well, we've also heard the same thing. We spoke to the IEC officials earlier and they confirmed that this actually did happen. There were petrol bombs thrown at one of these tented voting stations, and since then 2 in the area have been closed down for the safety of the staff as well, of course. And there's about 13 stations still up and running, but it's really difficult for people to actually come out here and take advantage of these stations. So even though there may be 13 stations and they might be within a close vicinity of each other, it's still not very easy to come in and register your vote, because you've got 2 lots of people here. There's a lot that want to come in and vote, people that are wearing ANC t-shirts, and then there's also the community who vowed to boycott this weekend because of all the service delivery issues here. So you've got 2 elements at play, and it's becoming really difficult for ordinary people who just want to go and register today.
Narissa, do you know if the affected stations will be opened tomorrow? There were fears leading up to this weekend of exactly this kind of thing happening.
Well, absolutely. I mean, earlier when we spoke to the deputy chair of the IEC, he said that it was very disappointing indeed. I mean, they went through a lot of preparations for this weekend. There were contingency plans in place. There's clearly beefed up security here, but it's not enough to abate the community anger and the fact that they're going to try and use this platform to get their issues out there. I mean, we've been trying to actually speak to people who managed to get their voting, the voter registration process over and done with, and they point blank refuse to speak, because their thing and what they're telling us is, if we appear on camera and if we say we successfully registered, tomorrow our houses will be burned. And this is the kind of mob justice that they're actually dealing with here. And then on the other hand, you've also got ANC supporters that are around, and they also want to come in and make sure that people are registered to vote. But on the other hand, you've got this angry mob of community members that are coming in and preventing this process. And the police really did have their hands full this morning, and trying to abate the situation, as well as respond calmly and with patience, because obviously you can't have a situation breaking out here.
Narissa, you mentioned spotting ANC supporters. Have you spotted any other supporters from other political parties? Are they interfering in any way? What's the dynamic there?
Well, look, if there are any other party supporters here, they're doing a very good job of keeping themselves hidden. Earlier, we did speak to some NFP supporters, and it was only towards the end of the conversation that the lady revealed that she's an NFP supporter, and this is who they're voting. They're planning to vote for Zanele Kamagwaza Msibi. But we've seen so far maybe 1 or 2 EFF supporters that were around, or party agents, but we're not seeing a very big presence of political parties here, apart from the ANC. And for the reason being, it is quite tense and volatile here, and just about anything seems to upset them, and it can, get them going.
Narissa, how many people do we know that have actually managed to successfully register in Bekkersdal?
Well, they were coming in dribs and drabs. I would be very surprised if that number is quite high, but we're expecting these figures from the IEC towards the end of the day to let us know how many people have actually managed to get into these centers and register to vote. But also remember that most of them here are taking part in that boycott to not to register, and to make sure that their issues of service delivery are actually out there, rather than taking advantage of the weekend in the upcoming elections. In fact, what it actually started the whole, volatile reaction was we were given to understand now early in the morning the residents had tried to hold a mass meeting, and according to these guys, they were hoping to encourage people to go ahead and register, because they want to vote out the ANC here. However, this was marred by the presence of the Red Ants, who had come in and disrupted this meeting, and I understand that there was violence used as well. We had earlier the municipal manager, Thabo Ndlovu, that came forward code, and he said, you know what, we didn't deploy the red ants here to start with the residents and to have a violent outcome out of this. They were just sent here to clean up the debris from protests in the previous days leading up to the voter registration. Obviously, that went horribly wrong in the morning, and then when you add in the third force of the police, who don't have a relationship with these people. I mean, just 10 minutes ago, I overheard an exchange between residents and the police, and the police were pleading with them, please back off. You cannot come into this area where there is a voter registration tent, because if you do, we are going to react with force. And he was point blank told off, this is not Marikana, you can't come here with Marikana tendencies, and that was a direct quote from a resident.
Now, finally, Narissa, I see a number of police cars behind you there. Are the police still maintaining a strong presence? What is their strategy for tomorrow?
Well, it looks like the same strategy, because I did overhear a very senior police officer gathering these guys around and giving them a debriefing, pleading with them, please maintain your patience, let's just leave them to do what they do, and they're just going to go around and keep, cleaning up the debris, cleaning up the burning tires. If the residents obviously get out of control, then they fire one or two rubber bullets at a great distance. But it's these very acts that are actually aggravating the community, who are screaming and saying that they're not going to come here and vote while there's such a high police presence, and while, according to them, the same police have been opening fire, using rubber bullets, and there's been children around. And as I mentioned, this is the weekend, so children are also walking very freely up and down the streets. They seem to be almost at ease with what's going on, if not joining into the protests.
All right, well, thank you very much, and that's where we'll leave it. That's eNCA reporter Narissa Subramoney.
Know more about your world.
eNCA.com